Alrighty, folks, so now, continuing on with the story, we are on the next day after my arrival in Mexico. And, after my uncle and I, had some fruits to eat, chopped up, watermelon and, papaya, all the good fruit that Mexico has to offer. We had breakfast and then we went to his ranch because I was going to help him, take care of, a couple of acres of land that he had and, you know, see what we could grow that year and, profit off of. But, once he showed me, the ranch and everything, um, he took me to my grandmother's house because that's where I was originally going to stay for that duration for my journey, for my trip that I was going out there for, because they had like an extra guest house, and I was just going to rent it out. And so we went over there, everything was fine, saw my grandma, gave her a hug, had lunch, she already had food for us ready, we ate. And for some reason, I don't know why my spirit was very irritated. God's spirit was very irritated that everything was still the same, where she lived. Like everything was still in the exact same place that it was left, right? Like nothing had changed, nothing had evolved, nothing was new, right? Still the same thing. Like I think the only thing they upgraded was maybe like their TV and their phone. Like that was it, right? But even my grandmother still had like the cell phones that flip and you just press the buttons, and I'm like, what is going on, dude? Like I felt like I went back in time. And so I was very disturbed by that. And even just in the initial conversation, like they're already telling me like I couldn't be out past a certain time. Like they were giving me all these rules and regulations, and I'm like, whoa, like what the hell? Like I'm paying for the guest house. It has its own entrance. I should be able to come in and out whenever I want. Like even hotels don't do that, right? Like I'm like, dude, like no, there's no way. And so in the back of my head, I was like, well, hey, well, let me just drop my things off. I'll even pay you just to keep my stuff here. But I think I'm going to head out and go see the rest of Mexico. Literally told them that same day, because I was like, there's no way. I'm like, I need to be able to serve God, right? I need to be able to serve God. I'm not, it's not going to work if somewhere where I can't just leave and get up and go whenever God calls me. Because what if He calls me at 2 a.m. in the morning to go take care of something, right? And He has before. And everything's locked, right? I got to sneak out now? Like, come on. Like, we're grown here. We're grown. Like, come on now. And so I told him that. And so I left my packages. I left my bags and everything in the guest house. And I was like, all right, I got to go. Like, it was already like maybe like 5 p.m. And, this was before I really got in touch with my natural instincts my natural survival instincts. And and so I remember they had a big rod, like staff, that my one of my other uncles had, and that he had found. And my grandmother was like, "Well, why don't you take this with you? You never know." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. Like, I really like this staff." And so I did. So I remember I grabbed all my stuff. I said bye to them. Had like one little small backpack, just with the essentials: food, water, Bible, right? And so I left. And sun was coming down, and I was thinking to myself, like, crap, where am I going to stay? Right? And I was like, all right, God, you're going to have to help me survive on these streets of Mexico. The sun's going down. I don't know what's going to happen. But I just took off, right? I just took off towards a mountain that I saw, and I was like, man, I really want to climb that mountain, right? Like something in my spirit was like, I really want to climb that mountain. And so I started moving in that direction. And by the time I got to the bottom of that mountain, it was like pitch black, right? And it was pitch black, dark, to the point where everyone was already going inside. It was like 9 o'clock, right? 9 o'clock. Everyone was going inside. It was like the plague, right? Everyone was shutting up all the doors and going inside. I'm like, I like freaked out for a second. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, is the troll, the giant, something gonna come out and like, do something? And and for a second, it really did feel like that, right? Like everything was dead silent for a minute. And once everyone was inside, then I could kind of hear why everyone was going inside. Out of nowhere, I heard like dogs barking, like coming from a distance, like a whole pack of them, right? Like a bunch of wild, animals, coyotes, like anything you could think of. They were starting to come out, and I was like, oh crap! Like, where am I gonna sleep now? Like, it's too dark to go into the woods and set up camp. Like, and I don't even know what wild animals are in there. And not only that, I'm not even gonna be able to sleep at a park because there's gonna be wild dogs looking for their next meal. And so what I ended up doing was, they have like these little light posts with like the Virgin Mary and like different, angels and apostles. And so I'm like, you know what, I'll be safe here. Like, let me walk to one of these and, maybe just stay up all night and pray and, find shelter there. And so I started doing that for like 5, 10 minutes. When out of nowhere, I see a dog cross the path, like kind of near me, like in front of me, and I just see it walk past me, like it's patrolling the streets, like it's like a security guard or something, right? And it didn't see me at first, and it just kept walking, right? But it was so dead silent, I could hear the dog stop walking and almost like just sniff the air because he noticed something was off, like something was there that wasn't supposed to be, right? And so I remember after he sniffed the air, he like turned around and it was almost like he peeked his head out and saw me and was like, gotcha. And I was like, oh no. Like, and this was all happening in the spirit. Like this was just so funny. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm like able to read intuitively into the energy of what's going on right now. And the dog looked back and then he like brought out his whole body and started barking. And I'm like, oh crap, he's probably letting every other dog know that I'm here and where my location is. And sure enough, that's exactly what it sounded like. So he barked off into the distance, and then another dog, like in the north, started barking, one in the south, one in the east, and one in the west. And I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, this dog's calling for backup. Like, no joke. Like, I could hear it. I remember I was like, my spirit was like, get up and go. Like, you got to leave now. And so I put my backpack on. I hid my Bible in my backpack, and I had my staff because I'm like, dude, if I got to fight these dogs right now, it's going down, right? And so I started walking like towards where that main road was because I needed to walk through it anyways to get out of there. And that dog was like just staring at me, kind of like just patrolling me and just kind of waiting to see what I was going to do. When I finally turned the corner from where that dog was, there was a pack of wild dogs just waiting for me on the other end. And I was like, oh crap. I'm like, I think this is worse than being confronted by like a group of gang members, right? Because this was like wild, rabid dogs looking for their next meal. And it wasn't just like one breed of dog, right? It was like different kinds. I mean, you not only had like the basic Chihuahuas, the German Shepherds, the Beethovens, right? The Saint Bernards. I mean, you had all different kinds. I mean, you even had like Labradors. Like you had every type of dog, right? And not only were they in the middle of the road, like 12, 15 of them, like looking at me, they were also on the roofs, right? Just barking and barking. They were all just barking, 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 like telling me to leave, and I felt like I was being demonically attacked at that point. And so I was like, oh God, like I'm like, I know this is not the end of my story. Like, God, what? I'm like, can you part something? And like, I need you to do something for me right now. Like, I need you to help me, right? And I kid you not, I don't know why. I just felt like raising my staff. And as I raised my staff, it was like the dogs just clearly parted like the Red Sea, like Moses. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now. Like, this is really happening right now. And so I like lifted up my staff, my rod, right? And they just started parting. Like I was gonna hit them, like whatever it was. I know it was God doing something through the staff, and they started to part, right? They like started to move. They were obviously still barking, trying to attack, but it was like something about the staff just scared them, right? And so I walked right through them, and as I'm turning around, I started putting the staff down, and this dog kind of like lunged at me, and I hit it in the face because it was ready to attack. And he kind of just like, wailed off and started crying, and then everyone else just backed up, right? And as I turned around, I'm like standing there, like pointing the staff at them. And I'm like, kind of like, just beware, stay away. And I'm like backing up, right? And as I'm backing up, they're just staying in their little area, and I just start leaving. And then once I'm a distance away, I went to another light post that had like a Virgin Mary on it. Of course, I'm not praying to the Virgin Mary, but I was praying to God. And I was like, God, where am I going to sleep tonight? Like, this is going to be, I mean, I need somewhere safe. And I remember in that moment, I was going through like so much. Like, I was just like, I was crying, I was just weeping, and I was like, God, like, you sent me out here. Like, this is like a test for you, for me to trust you. And I need you to provide for me. Like, I'm trusting you. I need you to guide me. I need to hear from you, right? Like, this is, I was literally putting God to the test. God sent me to Mexico to test him, to really know that I could rely on him for anything. And once I got that all out, I got up. I was like, all right, God, where do I go? And he was like, I kid you not. He like whispered into my spirit. He was like, walk down the street, and to your right, you'll find where to stay. And I was like, okay, I got to see if this is his voice, right? And so I get up and I walk down like this alleyway. And sure enough, there was like a little construction site, like they're building a brand new building. Nobody was there. It was completely vacant. No dogs could get in. And I ended up hopping over, finding like a brick to like use as a pillow, and just slept there for the rest of the night. And I was like, thank you, God. I'm like, damn, like you came through for me. And that really meant a lot because I had already gone through a lot just to get to that point. And just seeing that, I was like, damn, like God, like this is crazy. And funny enough, though, this is where the story continues. So I wake up to hearing kids, going to school, but you wouldn't believe what was staring me dead in the face with big yellow eyes. And so, guys, stay tuned for that story tomorrow. I'm sending you guys so much love. Talk to you soon.